Hello and welcome everybody back once again to the Init Esports channel, and today we're back for another Screen to Speed Formula FF 1600 special event. We're heading over to Snetterton over in the UK's to have a bit of a fun race tonight. I'm Mike Noss. Joined alongside me is none other than the Stephanie Fisher. Stephanie, how are you doing on this lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever these fine folks are in the world? And get Stephanie here in a second. Gotta love live TV, folks. And speaking of live TV, a big shout out, of course, to our partners over at, of course, the race, or my apologies there, as we get into this one. A big warm welcome to everyone joining us tonight over at eClutch, and of course everything on Twitch as well. If you guys are joining us over on the Twitch side, first off, welcome. Second off, you guys hit that follow button. It's free. It's absolutely free over on Twitch, and we appreciate each and every single one of you. We are here tonight, as I had mentioned, for that Screen to Speed event, and Stephanie, hopefully we have you this time. We are very excited to introduce you here tonight, Stephanie Fisher. Okay, we're getting a new call here briefly. Again, apologies, folks. Technical difficulties early on, as live TV often does, and you know, it is what it is, folks. But we do welcome you. I know the drivers are extremely excited in anticipation for this one. Emma Dempsey, Jessica Warner, Katharina Gleiser back at it. Lucia Tosi as well, of course, the previous winner from the last event that we had, and so many more. Sunny Parks joining us. We also have Nina Dom, a couple others, Paige Kaufman as well, joining us out there. And now let's try once more here as we have Stephanie joining us.
We do have Stephanie joining you. It's working now. I can hear you, and I'm assuming that you can hear me.
Waiting for production in my ear. No, I'm not sure if we do. I heard her briefly.
Oh no.
Technical difficulties, folks, as we are just working through the minor quirks and bugs. Stephanie, I can hear Stephanie on stream. She's talking, so Stephanie, go ahead and take it away.
Oh, okay. So it's working? You just can't. Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll work it out. But yeah, I guess it's half working, it seems. But yeah, I'm Stephanie, and I'm really happy to be here. This is a new venture for me. And
okay. Unmute in Discord. Okay.
Got it. Unmuted in Discord.
Hopefully we don't have double audio now. Again, folks, we apologize for this. We do have, it is often, you know, the way live TV goes. It sounds great. It sounds great. Everything seems to be working just fine. Folks, we're here. Stephanie, I can actually talk to you now that we're live.
Yes. Yes. I'm here and I can hear you. You can hear me. That's, I guess, the most we can ask for, the basics, but I'm happy to be here, excited to see you guys racing and be a part of this group that I have just recently heard of.
Yeah, and it's a great time as well to bring up a little bit about Screen to Speed in general, as it is sort of a startup. We're still fairly new out there, but why don't we talk a little bit about it? We're a competitive sim racing series dedicated to supporting women, and not just women in motorsports, but of course all female identifying and non-binary, the LGBTQ plus community as well, of course. Very inclusive here, and that's at Init Esports in general. We accept everyone, of course. But we're here to provide a direct pathway, sort of a pipeline from sim motorsports over into the real world. That's the goal at the end of the day, of course. Right now, we're building. Sim racing, of course, is the only sport on the planet, or the only esport on the planet, that has a direct one-to-one skill set that translates into real life. While, yes, you can argue that League of Legends helps you with reaction time, decision-making, and all that, it's not teaching you how to drive a real car. That's something, of course, that sim racing offers that nothing else can. And the whole goal with the Screen to Speed platform is ROI, which is not return on investment. It is return on inclusion. Our goal is to get everybody involved. That's what we want here. And with that, that's what we're going to have here tonight, folks. I want to welcome everyone. I see we have a couple folks over in the Twitch chats. We have DTR Cars joining us, as well as Alejandro from Costa Rica supporting Lucia out there as well. So we'd love to see it. Let us know, folks, who are you going to be cheering on tonight? Who's your favorite driver? Who do you want to see win it all and take the gold for the Screen to Speed Snetterton Special? Ooh, I just came up with that one. We're going to stick with that.
I like it. I like it.
Now, qualifying going to be coming underway relatively shortly. In fact, I think the drivers might already be out there, and just taking a quick little look, it seems that their qualifying is actually getting down to the wire. So we should probably head down there real quick and talk track for the time that we can. As we do get down here onto the track, we get to see the lovely Sonny Parks, one of the drivers out here. And I think the first time that we have seen them in the Screen to Speed events. Last time around, we had the International Women's Day event. That was, of course, a while back. And looking over at the times, no, her name was not on this. Sonny Park, first event out here with us in this year's Screen to Speed Championship. A new active member of Discord, too. I've been seeing her all over that. So a big warm welcome to her, and also hopefully a welcome to everybody that is going to be joining the community. If you guys are interested, you can head on down to the description. Also, !Discord. You can see in the chat to create or to get involved here with our community over at Init. Now, well, qualifying, it's done and dusted. We have 3 20-minute races tonight to decide who is going to take it all. And well, starting us off up at the top, looks like Jess Wesser, I think, was the one that got it at the end of the day. My timing tower has reset itself, so we will be able to see it here in our, well, face. Look at that. Brilliant production here, of course, from Full Sail University. We got Garrett behind the production, as well as Reezy. And starting us off at the top, Jess Wesser. Or Jessica Wesser, I should say. Lucia Tosi running in second. We have Emma Dempsey down in third. Katharina Gleiser in fourth, with Sonny Park finishing in fifth in qualifying. Paige Kaufman in sixth, and seventh, the back of the grid, belonging to Nina Dom. Now, you're going to be wondering why there are so few drivers on the grid. And, well, A, it's Easter weekend, and B, there's another event going on right now, which I highly recommend after you do watch this one to go and check out. It's the Race for Causes, 24 hours at the Cirque de la Sarthe. We have a lot of drivers that normally would be participating in the Screen to Speed race, participating in there. So we have some Dream Team drivers as well. Sophie, our very own Sophie, participated in it, as well as Sarah Dove and alongside Esmeralda. So a very solid team. I got to commentate a little bit of that as well with them, and got to watch Sophie battle it out wheel to wheel. It was very exciting, but here we get to watch the wheel-to-wheel battling. Jess Wesser away with Lucia Tosi side by side down towards the first corner. It's going to be advantage in theory to Wesser, but as we go into the braking zone, it looks like Tosi is going to be the one to hold the top. Behind that, Emma Dempsey slotting into second. Katharina Gleiser fighting their way into third. It's nip and tuck running here early on, but this, Stephanie, is where the gloves are going to start to come off.
Lap one's always really fun. Yeah, jostling around, trying to get your positions, especially important here at Snetterton, where it can be really tough to find a good spot to pass someone.
One of the better passing opportunities, Agostini, was the corner that we just headed into, and I thought for a moment Jess Wesser was going to be making that move, but no, decides that discretion is the better part of valor, and in a 25-minute race, that's going to be a very smart decision.
So I was going to ask you if you could tell me about what we're racing in. I'm mostly familiar with the GT3s and the GT cars, but these things are different.
Yes, they are a little bit different, no doubt. They are not necessarily the most powerful cars on the planet, but that's sort of what makes them fun. They're a little 1.6-liter 4-cylinder engine that's more or less a go-kart, to be completely honest. It is definitely not a Formula Ford, by the way. They're the FF1600s, and they are fun. They're punchy. They're extremely lightweight, as you can see. There's not much holding them together, more than just a couple bits of wishbone and hope, to be honest. That it's mostly hope that's holding these cars together, and if you watch them race in real life, it's absolutely the case. The gaps here, though, forming already. It seems to have the battling really calmed down on lap 1 as we now cross the line for the first time. It is going to be Tosi holding the advantage here at Snetterton, and this is a track as well that we can talk about here. It's a tough one. I know you have had, Stephanie, a bit of chance to drive it a little bit, so why don't you talk about that?
Sure. Well, it's actually one of my favorite tracks, and even in GT3, which a lot of people don't feel that way about, but I beg to differ. Looking at these little cars compared to those, I bet it's super fun. And these guys, it looks like you have a bit more room to maneuver around and get around each other than the big old fast GT3s that it's just really tough on this track with them I can understand why some people don't care for that, but these look like fun. I want to be out there now.
It is an absolute barnstormer of a time. And, you mentioned that as well with the high downforce cars compared to these, right? You can see there's not many sticky outy bits. There's not much canards. There's not even a wing. These
No.
things do not produce much in the form of downforce. They are all about that raw mechanical grip. And I myself, I will admit, I've never driven this track on iRacing, but I have driven it quite a bit on ACC. And with that in the GT4 cars, I tend to find a little bit more enjoyment because of that, lack of downforce, that more mechanical grip that allows you to get your elbows out and get side by side with someone without much risk. And also, the one thing is these cars aren't that fast and they have a very long braking zone, which means you can go for dive bombs. That means more exciting racing throughout. And I'm going to be honest here, Emma Dempsey miss. I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to be seeing Jess Wesser under a tremendous amount of pressure, maybe more than the Marianas Trench here, relatively quick.
Yeah, it looks like Emma would like to make up for ending up in what she qualify in 3, or did she jostle her way into 3 at the start? I don't recall.
She started her day off. Let's take a look over at the timing. She started her day off in 3rd, so she has remained where she started. The only moving position was Tosi and Wesser, and actually Kaufman and Park.
So well, I did note that I believe that Sunny Park was off the track early on, so that might explain the exchange of positions there, but then I guess Emma's going to try to make up for that P3 pole position and try to get into 2, or maybe even 1. Who knows?
Well, you can look at that. Lucia Tosi is not far away right now in that slipstream. The one thing, of course, is the fact that the slipstream in these cars is tremendous. I noticed in chat, we had a comment there mentioning that as well. Yes, these cars, they love a little bit of tow. But Snetterton, not really having the longest start-finish straight in the planet, it's definitely nothing to really shake a stick at necessarily, but it's not a long run, and it's a 90-degree hairpin through riches, and it's quick. It's a high-speed, high-commitment corner, and making a dive bomb there isn't necessarily going to be easy. The best places that you can find overtake here on Snetterton, typically turn 2 in the Wilson hairpin. That's a pretty heavy braking zone. And then after that into turn 4 of Agostini, and well, pretty much after that, it's just a ride of a roller coaster. You can make a move into Hamilton if you're bold enough. Down the Bentley Straight, you can also down into the chicane, but it's a dangerous one if you go for the pass into Brundle and make the move into Nelson, but you gotta be clean. So far, though, it's been absolutely squeaky clean performance from every one of these drivers, minus you mentioned Sunny Park, who had that incident early on, but since seems to have recovered and now catching back up to Paige Kaufman.
Yeah, I will say that I have had a tremendous amount of luck with turn 3 Palmer in passing people, and but not easy. It's just a little bit of a technique to it, but I've had a lot of luck in that turn. I'm not sure how, I don't remember. But
typically ends up with a little bit more right foot than your opponent is more than likely what's going to happen.
Yeah, that is a big part of it. In the way that turn is, if I recall correctly, the inside line, if you get in there just right, hold them to the out, you might be able to get out, oddly enough, a little bit ahead on that small straight. But I'm not sure how these little cars are gonna work for things like that.
Oh, Oh my. We've just had a little bit of a loop from Emma Dempsey. It looks like she's dropped down down into fourth, so lost 2 positions there from where she just was. But it looks like a completely unforced error. They were getting into a battle. Now, it might not have been. I potentially wonder if we can get a replay of that and get to see exactly what had happened, because Emma and Jess were pretty much right next to each other, and actually Lucia Tosi got caught up. It was 5/10 separating the 3 drivers, and I'm wondering if there was a little bit of contact that led to Emma Dempsey's demise at this point. Well, maybe not demise, but dropping down the order behind Katharina Gleiser, and it does sound like it's just going to be pretty much an unforced error, actually. So no contact there that sent her down. The pressure builds, and we all know that pressure, well, it can turn you into a diamond, or it can crack you into a million pieces. And, well, maybe not a million pieces in this case, but Emma Dempsey certainly coming off worse than she would have liked.
So I'm going to probably ask you questions about it because not particularly familiar with iRacing itself. So your unforced error, um, how's that working in here?
Pretty much a lot of the ways that it works for any other car. Most of the time, it's going to be just too much curb, too much throttle, or not enough brake. Those are the biggest 3,
Okay.
in my opinion, mistakes that you're going to see out of pretty much any of them, and especially in these cars, where a lot of it comes down to when, especially on these slower cars, and you notice they have a grooved slick tire as well, which, trust me, doesn't help with grip. That will actually make your traction patch less. Wow, that's easy enough for me to say. Meaning that you're going to slide around a little bit more, and you can even see that right in front of us. Tosi having that issue directly ahead of us, and now going on board with Tosi to see the input. But you can see that dancing that she's doing around the circuit, right? And what that basically is, you're using these cars almost like a go-kart. You want that back end to slip out a little bit because these cars are naturally very understeery. They just want to go straight on. Now, the problem with understeery cars, and this also kind of goes to the Toyota GR86s, the MX-5s, any of the kind of momentum-based cars, they can go from crippling understeer to violent oversteer quicker than a quick thing in Quicksfill. And that is a recipe for pretty much what's going to happen what happened more than likely to Emma Dempsey. You try to correct a mistake, you put too much input on the wheel, and then all of a sudden you just snap violently.
Ha, that makes a lot of sense. I had not heard it referred to as an unforced error, but now it all makes more sense. Thank you. Um,
Of course. And anyone in chat as well, of course, any questions? I know we have a lot of newer to motorsport people, as well as, of course, just some that are, like I say, just wondering any questions. There are no dumb questions here at Init Esports. We want to hear what you guys have to say, and exactly, like I say, let us know who you're cheering on, so on and so forth. We're nearing, my goodness, 10 minutes into this race already, and Wesser is looking still right at the rear bumper of Tosi, but hasn't been, in my opinion, applying that pressure that she was earlier. She's sort of settled into a rhythm, a routine, and is more just using Tosi as a crutch right now, trying to stay up at the front. They've done a great job over Katharina Gleiser of dropping a 5.5 second gap. Katharina sort of putting herself in a no man's land, with a 5 second gap to Emma Dempsey as well.
so I'm going to keep asking you questions. The
Please
tires
do.
on here, so similar like JT3, I know a lot of times we're going around the track and your tires start wearing out, temperatures affect them. How does that work on these little guys? Are they maybe having, some tire issues, or are those nice solid rubber things?
I'm going to be honest. That's a great question that I don't necessarily have the exact answer to. I've not had the pleasure of driving these cars enough to know the slip model of the tires necessarily and when they start to fall off a cliff. But I would imagine in a 25-minute race, these cars shouldn't have too much issue when it comes to tires. They should have enough fuel as well to make it at the end of this stint. So all things considered, I think it won't play too much of a role because, of course, they're going to be degrading equally on both. They will, though, of course, if you do slide around a bit, you generate a lot of friction, you're going to start heating those tires up. And that grooved slick that I mentioned before, you see that's going to kind of be the start point of the wear. I know Formula E, that's kind of one of the problems with them as well, because they use a grooved slick tire over in Formula E as well. Not that these cars have any similarities to a Formula E car, to be honest. I think they couldn't really be much further apart. But besides the fact that they, again, have those grooved slicks.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if possibly her settling in was due to maybe getting those tires hot and getting slippy. I know I can do that in my Porsche in like a couple of laps and be in trouble if I try hard enough. So my other question, I'm wondering, so I know we have 3 races we're going to watch here. Those 3 races going to be averaged out to see who comes on top of these?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yes, they were going to add up there'll be a points total added up at the end. Of course, everything will be provisional at the end of the day because there will be a steward's inquiry when all is said and done. Thankfully, this race has made the steward's day quite easy, to be completely honest. There's really nothing to talk about in terms of incidents. In fact, there really isn't much to talk about in positions changed right now. I do suspect, though, that Jess is currently in the process of sandbagging and really just using the... in fact, let's back this up a little bit here. Talking about that tire wear, right? Right now, Lucia Tosi is doing all of the hard work for Jess. Through these corners, yes, she's getting a little more dirty air, and these cars are quite affected by dirty air. You're going to be getting that hotter air, which isn't going to be helping with it, but you see she drops back just a little bit here and there, and that is going to be the difference of cooling those down. And Lucia punching a hole in the air in front, she has to do all the hard work there, and so the slipstream for these cars is so important due to the fact that they have really not much anything in terms of downforce or much of, again, like I say, sticky outy, but they're momentum based at their finest. These cars, if you can get them, things in motion tend to stay in motion unless otherwise affected. These are the perfect example of that.
So I was also wondering if we're going to be averaging or getting points with this. Is she possibly trying to kind of sit back and play it safe, get those P2 points, and
I think that's
go
wishful
for
thinking.
some more? Okay.
I have a
maybe she's
sneaking
just
suspicion that's I don't think that there's anybody in this race lobby that's going to settle for second. I'm not going to lie. We have a bunch of winners and champions out there, so they're going to go for it. No doubt. I think right now, like we're down to that final 10 minutes. It's probably going to be around that 5-minute mark that if Jess has the pace, if she does have the ability, because the one thing that I'm noticing right now is she's dropping back, which she was doing, and then she was closing up. Now she kind of has stopped that closing up process, is almost seemingly going in reverse a little bit, and that's a bit of a mistake. Her wide onto the grass. What a save from Wesser. That is a perfect example of what I was talking about, of that car going from violent understeer. It's so easy to just snap the car back when you're trying to save what she just did.
Yes. As we were talking, at first I thought, oh, maybe there's got some strategy going on. There's 3 races, but I'm seeing that gap just kind of slowly getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. So, yeah, I don't think it's intentional.
No, I think it could even be due to the fact I mentioned that she was maybe saving that tire behind the leader of Tosi. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was the dirty air that actually was playing more of an effect than I thought at that point, and maybe more of an effect that Jess thought, because she now 2.5 seconds and seemingly, like I say, going backwards. And we'll have to keep an eye on the lap times, but was that all she had in the tank, or is she even saving a little bit more? Maybe Tosi's still pushing too hard. Now, keep in mind, we are talking about the previous winner. Tosi took the victory at the Screen to Speed International Women's Day event, so she definitely knows how to A, lead a race, but B, how to win a race at the end of the day, and I think she's looking to go for a little bit of a repeat on that one here tonight, just crossing the line with a 59.3, the fastest driver on track, and by a significant margin.
Yeah, I did see that Wesser was holding on to that for the majority of this race, but her timings are starting to get a little bit longer and longer as the race goes on. So lead me to believe that maybe she's struggling with some tire issues, grip.
Now, one driver, though, that has had a sudden burst of life, it seems, in the back half of this race is Sunny Park. Paige Kaufman coming under threat here from 5th position. Paige just got by Sunny, so they've actually I thought Sunny was by, so Sunny got by Paige at one point. I missed that, and now we've had a reversing of the reversing. Can you double up Uno reverse cards like that, Stephanie? I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the house rules. I always grew up with it being like one each, but yeah, you can Uno reverse and then reverse again. Yep, you can, absolutely.
Sunny Park needs to find one more to stack onto that here. It seems like that she has just had a bit of a mistake because that gap has come down immensely all of a sudden, where it was 0.5 of a second, now up to 6. And that doesn't just happen too quickly for the most part. I'm assuming Sunny going a little bit hot into a corner. She's definitely pushing it, which I love to see. And doing a great job of it. Last time around, a 2:02.5. That was actually her fastest lap as well. So also Paige Kaufman, talk about consistency. 2:01.1 is her fastest lap. She had a 2 minute point 2-minute.1 is her fastest lap, my bad. At a 2:01.1 was what she managed on the previous. So about a second and a bit faster than Sunny Park. Emma Dempsey in the 2 minutes. Pretty much tied with Katharina Gleiser's time. She needs to cut a bit of delta off of that if she wants to find any form of battling towards the end of this. Jess Wesser, we mentioned fastest overall on circuit, almost actually. No, as Lucia Tosi took that fastest lap with a 1:59.3. Oh my goodness. Jess here. Wrestling an octopus, it seems.
And I'm noticing as I'm looking at the times I have, and I don't have all of her times, but Geisler, is it Geisler or Gleiser?
Gleiser. Or Geiser. Geiser. I've been saying it wrong.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Geisler. Her times are very close. Very consistent. One of the more consistent drivers on the track, I think. Lucia Tosi up there is doing a fantastic job just driving away with this one. But
absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
There with a 2 minutes point, like I say, about 4 or 5/10, 6/10 the previous lap off of her time, but absolutely keeping it in the consistent window. So is Wesser, as she's managed pretty much dead even times for the past couple laps. And yeah, really Tosi being the talk of the town right now, still able to pull out that 3.5 second gap from Wesser. Dempsey just trying to hold on, it seems right now. Her lap times have gone down, I think, a little bit more than she would have liked. Her best lap, a 1:59.6. Now she's in the 2 minute point twos. And needs to get back into the 59s if she wants to catch back up to Katharina. It's possible at this stage, but as the clock winds down, she needs to find that pace. I don't want to say yesterday, but she needs to find it fairly quickly.
She does, and it looks like maybe Katharina's consistency is paying off for her. She doesn't have her fastest lap is not faster than Emma's. Although look, it's like Emma just got past Katharina.
Yes, Emma did just get past Katharina. Did Katharina go into pit lane? Are we not going to have enough fuel for this race? Or was that a miscalculation on Katharina's part? Should we be good to go to the end? Well, we're going to find out. I thought 25 minutes these cars could handle. Was this a miscalculation for Geisler? It very well could have been. Or damage? I don't think there was any damage. There's no need for that. And even if there was, it'd have to be a significant amount to warrant back into pit lane. I think she's come out onto circuit in 5th. Behind Paige Kaufman, ahead of Sunny Park. A very interesting. Oh, goodness, no! As Paige Kaufman, with an unforced error, Katharina Geisler caught out there with her pants down. Unfortunately, that was, you hate to see it. Really nothing she could have done.
When I see that, I'm really glad this is sim racing.
Yes. These cars certainly dangerous without a halo, and definitely is a clenching moment all the way through and through. But thankfully, I think the damage was minimal. I don't see any broken wishbones. I don't see any broken collarbones, which is more important. I think everyone is awake, alive, and pointing in the relatively correct direction. So we're doing all right.
Do we get broken collarbones in iRacing?
No,
No.
I guess that's more of a motorcycle thing, to be honest. This is, of course, a motorcycle track. They race MotoGP. No, they don't race MotoGP here. And into pit lane is Tosi Wesser into lane. Well, folks, we have an answer to our question. There's not enough fuel to go to the end.
Oh, Emma Dempsey in now too.
Everybody. Oh, and there's another spin from Paige,
Oof.
unfortunately, as she has lost the back end once more. Kind of, again, reenacting that spin that I was talking about of having to try to fight the understeer, and all of a sudden the car, it can snap on you so fast. And I'd imagine Paige getting down to the end of her tire life as well at this point. The more spins you have, the more your tires wear down, and the more likely you are to spin. And, well, you can see how that's an exponential equation that we're talking about.
It looks like Wesser came out in P1 now after all those pit stops, and Lucia Tosi is down in P3. So that really shuffled them.
Taking new tires would be my assumption with that, and everybody else just going for a splash and dash. Wesser thinking that the tires are going to be good enough. Katharina as well. Tosi is 5.5 seconds behind. I don't think tires were the right call here. I think she has sacrificed track position for a long-term investment, and that long-term investment is 2 minutes, and, well, I don't know about you, but 2 minutes isn't that long an investment.
Well, I wonder if it was not, an error. I'm thinking in ACC sometimes you forget to turn the tires off, you go into the pit, and it's too late. You can't change it now.
Yeah, very well, that could be.
Yeah, so I bet Lucy is not too happy about that at this point.
No, our previous race winner for the Screen to Speed International Women's Day event, she has almost bested herself at this point, it seems. And hopefully, next race will be a bit of a consolidation for her, because on this one, well, she's just giving it over to Jess Wesser, and Wesser is not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. She's going to take this one with both hands, smiling down to the checkered flag and take the race one victory, at least at this point. Obviously, anything can happen in racing, and it normally does, but it would take a bit of a mistake out of Wesser on the final lap to do so. And actually, are we going to get is this going to be the final lap here? No, we are going to get one more. There we go. We have 30 seconds left. I was looking at the 32, not the 22. So we get one more lap. The white flag will be waving for the final time around on this race one of Snetterton. There is the unfortunate decision made of the tires, and the resulting position is 4th. Absolutely heart-wrenching.
That is, it's Lucy's got to be really annoyed about that. Now, if she's able to hop up into P3 as Paige Kaufman goes into the pit now, but she's good 14 seconds behind Katharina, and there's just no. I don't believe there's enough time and to make that up unless Katharina has a major error.
Yeah, it would definitely take quite a mistake out of Geisler for that to happen, and I just don't see that. She's driven pretty much, you mentioned earlier, perfectly up to this point, and it has been a bit of a metronomic drive for Katharina Geisler. Definitely one to be proud of, no doubt. Race one, though, of 3. Keep that in mind, so this is just a drop in the bucket, all things considered, but Jess Wesser is on the final lap and on her way down towards the bomb hole and through the final sector now. What a race it's been for. Pretty much just a hurry up and wait situation. And the sort of a hurry up and wait situation as she has pretty much done, well, everything perfect. Didn't quite have the pace to match the Lucia Tosi, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter. All it took was a brilliant strategic decision in not taking tires, and she is going to cruise home round the final corner now, onto the loud pedal to take victory here for race one, and a great job to her. Jess Wesser, she can take a bow and, well, take a little bit of a breather now as well. So checkered flag is out, 16 seconds behind Katharina Geisler.
Well, that was fun and educational, too. I learned a lot about these little cars in this one.
These are some fun little beasts to drive. There's Geisler taking the checkered flag for second position in the the FF, again, definitely not Formula Ford, the FF 1600 Special. This was Snetterton Special. There we go. FF 1600 Snetterton Special is what we're calling this. That's right. As dubbed by me earlier in the stream. Emma Dempsey, an unfortunate fourth, but she'll take it. Definitely still one to pat herself on the back for. Paige Kaufman, incredible effort still to finish here into fifth position, and it was Nina Dom. We didn't mention her too much, and I do apologize for that. I'm sure we'll be seeing a little bit more of her. She managed to sneak into sixth position. Sunny Park, with that pit stop on the last lap, did relinquish her one more position. So now Nina Dom coming through the final sector. She'll be taking the checkered flag momentarily, and the final one to do so. As Sunny Park, did she even... Yeah, I think she did already make it to the line, or no, she is...
Hey, that's what I'm wondering. It's showing her in the
chilling.
pit. Okay.
There she is. So she has already finished.
Okay.
And to the line, Nina Dom. Great finish there. Strong one to the end. And that, folks, will conclude our race one. Again, don't go anywhere because we do have more inbound. 2 more races here for the night. And there is our results. Jessica Wessner up on the top. Behind that, not Lucia Tosi. This is not the correct time. Katharina Geisler. There it is. That's the correct timing. Jessica Wessner taking the victory tonight over Katharina Geisler behind Emma Dempsey Miss with... Wait, is that even correct? I think that isn't correct either. Was it Lucia Tosi that took third? Anyways, Paige Kaufman taking home fifth, I think, is where Paige ended up finishing. Nina in sixth, and Sunny in seventh. So, yes, definitely a little bit of the timing tower, I think, lying to us slightly at the end. But it was, in fact, Jess Wessner that took the victory tonight based off of pure brilliant strategic making, or rather, I guess, unfortunate strategic making more from Lucia Tosi, as she took the stop and ended up taking tires in the pit lane, which, was it intentional? Was it not? We'll have to find out soon. Hopefully we hear from her in one of these, well, not interviews just yet. I think we'll be having interviews when all is said and done. But we are going to try, to get an interview on here very, very shortly. So hopefully we can get to hear from the victor and what it was like, as she just kind of had to sit and wait for it to come to her. But Jess Wessner, we'll be hearing from her in a little bit. But all things considered, Stephanie, this was an absolute electric race one. Maybe not the most on positions changed, but certainly one for the consistency books.
As in, you don't really want to see people like having incidents or any of that. It's just not a nice way to lose positions or gain positions. So kudos to all of them for, the vast majority of it, keeping it on the track and nice, clean racing. It'd be interesting to find out what happened to Tosi there, that she was in the pit for so long. I see that Sunny said she ran out of fuel at the end there. So
yeah, that's kind of what I was just gasping over right there, is I was reading chat and seeing that Sunny mentioned that she ran out of fuel at the end. Well, again, that goes to show that I guess these cars do not have enough fuel to make it 25 minutes. We learned that one today. I thought they would have, but Sunny also learned that the hard way. That, Stephanie, I'm sure you can relate to this one. That's one of the most gutting feelings, is you're coming into the final sector, and then all of a sudden you hear your car go, and then it just dies.
I know in SRA, we changed the pit rules that we cannot take fuel anymore in the league race, and I was in a race and I forgot to change my fuel after qualifying, and then lap 3 I looked down and saw that I was almost out of fuel. So that was the end of that one for me. Yeah. So
definitely
I'm sure
not the first time I've seen that.
Yeah. And it is heartbreaking when you're, especially at the end of a race, you're at the last lap, and yeah, the car goes, "No, I'm done now."
and it just kind of makes fun of you as it comes to a whoop 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 kind of stop as well, and it's like, yep, no, I didn't. That's what you call a miscalculation, unfortunately. It's the worst as well, like you said, when you do the qualifying fuel and you forget to change it over because you realize it so early, and in your case, well, there was nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, yeah, that wasn't fun, but hopefully Sunny will be able to recalculate her fuel for the next race and do a little bit better that time around.
Certainly learned the hard way, like I said, and yeah, she definitely won't be making that mistake a second time. Now, just trying to check out here to see, do we have an update on our race winner? And are we going to get a little chat from her? As it stands, not quite just yet. So we will be working on that here very, very quickly and getting that out to you guys. And again, in the meantime, we'll be waiting for race 2 of Snetterton, which again, a circuit that, well, it is kind of rife in history in more than one way. So also, as I'm getting in my ear, race 2 is going to be a reverse grid. So if you guys were lacking overtakes in the first one, well, there's going to certainly not be in the second. We are going to be seeing chaos, carnage, calamity, and everything in between. I hope the first 3 are minimal, but reverse grids, we know they tend to breed chaos, Stephanie.
Exciting, and I hope they're fun for the drivers. I know I've always enjoyed a reverse grid. It gives you an opportunity to battle with more seasoned or experienced or skilled drivers than you, and that's a valuable experience.
No, it absolutely is. And for anyone in chat right now, speaking of more experienced drivers than I, somebody help Sunny out. And how do you add fuel into a car in iRacing? I actually don't know, so I can't help with that. And I'm assuming Stephanie, I know you're not an iRacing driver either. So the 2 commentators here are dead in the water, unfortunately, for helping on that one. But somebody in chat is going to be able to help you, I'm sure of it. Somebody knows here how to add some fuel on in there as, yeah, Sunny, new to iRacing. So first off, Sunny, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you in the community I was mentioning earlier. And also welcome to iRacing. Hopefully we can get somebody to help you out on this one because... sorry, we're useless.
we are. If Sunny was unable to add fuel, were the pit stops mandatory?
No, I'm assuming not, because
Okay.
I don't think we had a pit stop from. In fact, I can check. I don't think we saw, and I can't check anymore because the lobby has concluded. But I'm 90% sure that Nina Dom didn't take a pit stop. Maybe she did though. 90% is strong. Maybe it's like 50%. Yeah, maybe it's like 40%. I think she pit. But that's, my opinion changed very quickly on that one. I'm not sure is the short answer.
Maybe Sunny could hit someone up in Discord quick, and someone there might be able to help if there's no one in chat here able to.
Yeah, definitely someone in Discord will be able to. Yes, absolutely. Somebody help Sunny out, folks. Somebody help Sunny out. We got 3 minutes till we get down to the race session, so she's going to need it quick. Reverse grid coming up. Let's again talk about that. When it comes to overtaking, we mentioned before there are not many easy opportunities on this circuit. My goodness, the auto mod on Twitch is very rude. Also, Sophie is not interesting. Okay, either way. um, Big thank you to Sophie, Erwin, behind the scenes as well, of course, getting all this on. Of course, thank you to everybody behind the scenes. Of course, we are with eClutch, so we're on live TV over in Asia's and the Europes and the South Americas. So a massive shout out to our eClutch family over there, of course, and anybody tuning in as well. We thank you. Hope everyone's had a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. It's Mike Noss and Stephanie Fisher on the comms here today for the Init Esports Snetterton 1600 special, as I will get that name right once eventually.
Yeah, by the end of this you'll get it right at least once. I have
maybe it's wishful
faith
thinking.
in you. No, I have faith in you. You're gonna do it. You'll be good.
It is the Snetterton 300 as well for the layout that we do use here, of course. That's going to be the sort of GT3 use of it. Now, this track, it didn't start off as a racetrack, as most British racetracks often do. You guessed it. It started as a bum-ba-da-dum-bum World War II fighter base. Shocker. Wow, it's almost like every single British track out there, minus Donington? I think Donington was a World War II tank base, right? I think. Yeah, it was Donington or it was the other one. No, Donington has elevation, so it was Donington.
Yeah, as I say, I'm pretty sure that Oulton Park is not that.
You're right. Now that you mentioned it, Oulton Park is actually a current. They still use the runway there, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, you have a valid point now that you mention it.
Well, I think we are left with Silverstone as an option also.
That was a World War II fighter base. That was a fighter base.
Yeah.
That one was for actual fighters, where they trained fighters there. Here, they trained bombers. This was a B-17 training ground, is what they initially used this for back in the 1940s. When Germany had their extended holiday in France, somebody had to clean it all up, and well, that was them, I guess, the RAF. So big shout out to them. It was decommissioned in the early 50s, and then you guessed it, converted into a racetrack in 1951 when the Aston Martin Owners Club purchased it, and then it became its first iteration, a very flat circuit that wasn't that great, to be honest, back in the days. It's changed layouts to the more modern one that we have now, which is very, very nice circuit. I love it. But it sounds like, as I'm getting whispered in my ear, that we are getting ready here to throw down to the track once again to see some cars driving around in a glorified circle, as often it is with racing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I've always liked the reverse grid races, so this will be fun.
This absolutely is going to be insane. Here we go, folks. The grid's set, and we can see it's going to be Sunny Park at the top. Nina Dom in second, Paige Kaufman fourth, Lucia Tosi, in third, Paige Kaufman in fourth, and we are away and green running. And immediately, Sunny Park is going to get swamped from behind. Looking at the current leader, Lucia is already in the lead? Okay.
Wait,
Sunny
how'd
Park
that happen?
down in... I have no idea. Sunny Park down into second. Emma Dempsey, though, third right now, battling and dicing it up. Oh, goodness, Nina Dom, a bit of hesitation there onto the brakes, just trying to fan back in the order. Emma Dempsey carving her way through the field like a Thanksgiving turkey as well. And now down the hill. Oh, no, there's contact at the turn-in point. She thought she had the room. Emma Dempsey thought the position was going to get given to her, but no, that's Sunny Park. That's says, I am not going anywhere, and I'm going to be holding this position.
She threw some elbows out there.
Bit of a knife fight in a phone booth, as we've had on this early opening stages. Maybe a little bit more action than the previous. We look up towards the front of the field. It's Lucia Tosi battling with Sunny Park. We're currently, again, looking at Paige Kaufman and Katharina Geisler. My apology. I think I got the order wrong. The timing towers have finally settled in to the proper running order, and Sunny Park is looking dominant right now, and she's looking like she wants to make a move for the lead of this race as well, despite the fact that she finished with no fuel in the previous race. She's hungry, and she wants the victory. Down into the chicane, through Nelson, up towards the bomb hole. No dice to be thrown just yet, but I sense here the gloves are going to come off, and they're going to come off in a very brutal manner here very shortly.
Well, Sunny knows how to put fuel in that car now, so she's probably not afraid to use the throttle very liberally.
Certainly hope so, as we haven't had confirmation. I hope she figured out how to get the fuel into the car, hopefully in Discord. Over at the Init Esports Discord, somebody did inform her on that one. Plenty of helpful folks as well, of course, as it is a community for absolutely everybody. And so if you guys are interested in getting involved with the Init Esports Discord server, I would highly recommend it, !Discord, to get involved. We're a very open community here, not just with Screen to Speed, of course with Screen to Speed, but also with Init Esports, trying to provide a nice, safe place for all female identifying, non-binary, and of course the entire LGBTQ plus community. So if that's something that does interest you, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a great place, I can confirm. We also, of course, as I mentioned before, we have our dream team taking part in an event today with the Race for Cause 24, the 24 hours of, the Race for Cause, supporting LGBTQ plus youth in Ireland. So it's a very great cause. They've raised, as of when I left the booth, we had raised 2,700 or something around those lines, but I know we reached 3,500 the last time that I checked. So if you guys have a little extra dosh lying around, and that's a cause that does interest you, I'd highly recommend checking it out.
Now, it looks like Wesser finally got her way past Geisler there, so I expect her to be charging up the field to try to catch up. I was wondering where she'd gotten to.
Gonna need to be a butterfly in the windstorm, and also, as I'm getting told here, it's a bit of a in-house rivalry, you might say. Katharina Geisler and Jess Wessner are partners, so that's a bit of spice to be thrown into that one, I would say. That'd be an awkward conversation after all's said and done if there was a bit of contact to be had.
I mean, I've raced with my husband several times before, and I think that I find contact when we do it, it's usually just something we laugh about as opposed to getting annoyed. But that's our experience.
That's how it should be. I certainly am sure that those two, I know I've seen on their social medias, they're both very active on those, and it's awesome to see the camaraderie, the posts and all of that when it comes to the rivalry slash, of course, eternal friendship and bond that the two have. So it definitely adds a bit of extra element to it. And look at this. Here we go. This is, oh no, Paige Kaufman spinning, I think, on her own. Hard to tell from that camera angle if there was contact. I don't think there was. It looked like you could maybe fit a piece of paper between the two. I'm not sure about a credit card, but I don't think there was contact.
Yeah, it was hard to see, but maybe not. Oh, wait.
Here is Emma Dempsey charging like a butterfly in a windstorm to try to catch back up here to Sunny Park, who has been just smashing it so far. I got to give some credit where credit's due. Maybe somewhat new to iRacing, but my goodness, can she hold her own up at the front right now. Started in first, held on to second up to this point. Now, I'm going to be honest, I think it's going to change pretty quick. This looks like Emma Dempsey wants to take this position and wants to take it soon. Now, making a move to the outside here is dangerous. The outside line, though, with enough speed, if you can keep it alongside, it's going to turn to the inside, but you have to be careful at the apex. Contact. Spinning, rejoin the track on the slip road. Oh, goodness. Decent rejoin, kept it to the right-hand side of the track, and notice she keeps it on the right-hand side of the track after, just to make it so she's nice and predictable, slows the car down because she's going to have a slowdown penalty after gaining an advantage, and allows Jess Wesser through. Oh goodness, that's Jess that got through on that one, so that was a bit of double trouble for both of those drivers.
Yeah, it looks like Sunny fell back to fifth, letting Wesser and Katharina by.
It was a bit heavier of a contact, I think, than I expected then. Sunny Park, unfortunately, fortunately, she managed to hang on. Unfortunately, she dropped 4 positions down the order since the start. So a tough pill to swallow, but I think at the end of the day, Sunny Park is going to have a smile on her face from ear to ear, and that's all that matters. She's having a great time out there, held on to second for as long as she could. Now she's just got to work back forward. Only 3.5 seconds off the back of Geisler. I think she can catch back up.
We might be able to. Geisler's times are 2:01, and Sunny's been in the 2s. So unless Geisler's times were a result of just being stuck in the mud with being behind other drivers, Sunny has a chance. And there's how many minutes left in this?
About 17, 16 math folks, 12 minutes. Wait, hold on.
Close
17,
enough. All right,
17,
yeah, she's got time. No worries, she's got some time.
Throw it into the dyslexic person to do some math on the spot. That's what you call commentator napkin math, folks. You wouldn't trust it for anything, to be honest. No. Back to the battle here with Dempsey. She's coming in hot and fast right now in the slipstream of Jess Wesser, goodness me, I'm so sorry. Not going to be able to get the move done on this occasion, but carrying that momentum through the bomb hole and on towards the back sweep. This is not a great spot to make an overtake. This is kind of a spot that you really don't even want to be behind the car in front because of the dirty air that's just going to be causing you to wash wide. In fact, that's a great camera view that we can see exactly of what I'm talking about. The car just struggling to stay on the rails despite the fact that they have, well, less downforce, which means they have, you guessed it, less grip. Dempsey, though, with a very good run now down the start-finish straight. I think Jess Wessner is going to be just hemorrhaging a little bit of blood into the water, and Emma Dempsey is looking to feast as she goes around the outside. A Lewis Hamilton onto Fernando Alonso-esque overtake. Can she make it stick? It's going to be the outside line for the hairpin, but with excessive momentum, she capitalizes and gets the job done. Emma Dempsey moves up to second.
Well done, Emma Dempsey. That was beautiful.
Jess Wesser literally left with her jaw on the floor and saying, I could have done pretty much nothing about that. Dempsey just getting her, not elbows out, but just showing that she is here to stay and race with the best of them. Jess Wesser is a driver that is absolutely no slouch at the best of times. Nevertheless, here, when she's out in these types of races, managed to finish in fourth in the previous round, behind actually Katharina Geisler. So Geisler still a bit more pace to be found. In fact, well, I say that she's currently right out of shot on the back of Jess Wesser. So we have a three-way battle for second position, and we have 15 minutes left to go. This is awesome.
Yes, I gotta love a reverse grid. Yeah, it's really throwing different people out there and making battles that we didn't see in the last race.
No, and really making them almost desperate battles. Look at this, Jess Wesser. She's not done. She's not going anywhere on the back of Emma Dempsey right now. Katharina Geisler is going to be watching this with bated breath and just saying, keep fighting, girls, because I'm going to be joining this conversation quicker than you could imagine. All this is doing with Emma Dempsey and Jess Wesner, they're holding each other up. They're wasting time. 7.5 seconds is the gap to Tosi. By the way, we have a leader in this race. I don't think we've mentioned that just yet. Yeah, Lucia Tosi. She's leading this race and has been for a while. Now, that was the story in the last race, but she ended up, of course, having that unfortunate pit stop and changing tires. So, always one to keep in mind, but I don't think... you gotta wake up pretty early in the morning to catch Tosi out with a couple mistakes like that. I think she's learned from her mistakes and won't be making those again.
I believe that her fastest lap there, the 1:59.213, is faster than the fastest lap of the last race.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. It was nearly, I think it was 57 or 59.3 was the fastest lap out of Tosi. So she's just improving every time around this circuit, it seems. And of course, the track rubbering in, the car getting lighter on fuel by the end. That means that the pace is going to increase. But of course, the tires are going to wear, which is going to lose you some pace as well. Now, Lucia Tosi hasn't got that memo. We can tell her that her car is supposed to get slower as the race goes on, but she doesn't need to do that. She's just getting quicker. So, you know, who are we to talk? Everybody, though, lapping quite well right now. And with the track temp, I don't actually have a way of telling the track temp right now, which is a shame, but it seems like it's probably around the 20s, maybe into the 30s. It seems pretty good. 28 degrees is what I've been told, so it's very optimal. These drivers are going to be having a great time on 28 degree track temp. That's very, very manageable for the tires. It's not going to be overly hot. It's not going to be overly cold. Some might say it's optimum.
Well, Tosia certainly feels like it's optimum with those speeding times.
Nobody even close to answering her best lap yet. Well, I say that, Emma Dempsey, 34 thousandths of a second off. For anyone that's curious, I absolutely love this stat, but for anyone curious, the blink of an eye is 0.2 of a second. That's 0.2. So in that time, in case anyone was also curious, a sailfish, the fastest animal in the sea, can swim approximately 25 feet in the blink of an eye, or 0.2 of a second. So just to give you some visual reference of what that looks like, because everybody can visualize that, I'm sure. It's quick. A couple 10,000s. We're talking literally inches over the course of this 3.4 mile? 2.9 mile circuit.
I like that Wesser and Dempsey came in that last lap together fighting. They both had their fastest laps, and they're hundredths off of each other. So, yeah, Emma's really holding on to that, and Jess is holding on to her tail, not letting her go anywhere.
And with that, they're actually now starting to almost be quicker than our leader, Tosi, which isn't quite there just yet, but it's certainly looking promising. And hey, with with 12 minutes left in the race, it's absolutely possible. 7 seconds. You just have to pluck away pretty much a little more than half a second a lap. That's a tough ask. It's a very tough ask when we're talking about Lucia Tosi. We also, though, of course, thing to keep in mind, Tosi's demise on the previous session, the pit stop phase. Hopefully, no mistakes are made like that. I, again, do not see that being too much of a drama, but with the pit stop phase in the works here, is Jess going to go for the undercut? Does she pull the trigger early, come into lane, get that fresh set of fuel and back out? Or does she stay behind and in the slipstream? I'll be honest, Jess, goodness. I'll be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because, well, we've talked about the slipstream an awful lot. Jess Wesser behind Emma's the first one I think I've seen in the slipstream that's able to hang on. It seems like anyone else, over time, they start losing time. So it seems to me, I would guess that the dirty air is having a negative effect on the car over time as opposed to the slipstream. It's like just a greater effect than the slipstream's bonus, although it looks like Jess Wesser may have just... Oh, that's our... It looked like Jess got past Emma on our stack, but... Did she really? Okay.
Yes, she did, but
All
she's
right.
about to change it, and it looks like that was due to a slowdown penalty. I'm assuming that overtake didn't look like an overtake in the traditional sense. That looked to me as if as if Wesser gained an advantage off track, got one of those in-game iRacing penalties, and then had to give the position back for free. So the position has been swapped back around after being swapped around after being swapped around. Have you lost track yet, chat? I know I have.
It's those Uno reverse cards.
It absolutely is. And oh, there's another one. Emma Dempsey missed an apex, but rejoined the circuit just in time. Nearly cuts the nose of Wesser off, but manages to hold on by a thread. Flopping around, though, and trying to keep this car planted in the right direction and all four wheels pointing the correct way. Easier said than done, especially when you have Jess Wesser hunting you down. And, well, I was wondering if we were going to see the undercut from Wesser. No, it's Dempsey. She gives up the track position and comes in before anybody else.
Lucia Tosi takes another 10th off of her best time.
Wow. That's almost unreal. She is almost in the 58s. That's quicker than qualifying. Nearly. That's insane.
Yeah. She's just getting faster as we go.
Lucia Tosi has found a groove, and it's going to be really hard to break that groove and momentum. Now, the only, of course, saving grace is the fact that she got third or fourth on the previous race. I think it was third. The timing towers, again, I think lied to us there. So she is going to be lacking in points in the overall when all is said and done at the end of race 3. But with 2 wins and a P3... unless anybody can do better than that, which mathematically I'm not the one to ask. Just gonna, as I quickly try to do the maths and I realize that it's a little bit over my head. We're not sure. We'll call that an unsure.
Yeah, no, because I have a terrible memory. Wesser won the first race, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, Jess is hanging on to P2, but still probably will need to pit. So we'll see. Because I'm thinking if Jess got P1, P2, if she gets P1, that I imagine would be enough. Well, yeah, she would be
It'll come down to race
able
3.
to beat Tosi. Yep, it will.
It'll be tied going into race 3, which would be absolutely insane for the script of this. There is no race 3. There's only 2 races. Oh goodness, I've been spreading misinformation this whole time.
Ah!
The website. Okay, anyways, this is the final race, folks. So yes, if change my maths now completely, the equation has flopped. If Tosi finishes first and Wes finishes second, Wessner is going to win.
Yes. So Wesser really needs to get P2.
Yes, and she's currently rocking it pretty well. And Tosi, of course, well, they're going to go into pit lane now, so things are going to flip-flop around. And as they often do, the commentators are going to get even more confused because, you know, it's how it's just how we roll. But through it, it looks like Lucia Tosi has, well, like the mythical Titan Atlas, the weight of the world pretty much firmly on her shoulders.
Yeah, and let's see. Looks like Katarina is out. She is ahead of Emma Dempsey, who she was behind when Emma went into the pit earlier. So looks like the overcut has worked for her. We shall see.
Which is really interesting. It makes some sense. Strategy is always one of those, especially, you know, that's one as a commentator, I'm sure you often get it a lot as well, is what is the best strategy on this track? Is it undercut? Is it overcut? And we all know that that's not necessarily a simple answer, right? It's not just something that you can say on any given... It's different, and it differs with even down to the conditions and down to the cars that you're racing in. Does it... I would have thought the undercut wouldn't matter much on this. And the reason that is because I don't think the tires are the problem. It's the fuel at the end of the day. So if you can go longer with less fuel in your car, you're going to be, on average, traveling quicker over the course of a race. That made no sense to probably 75-80% of people. That was a very unnecessarily complicated way of explaining it. Let me see if I can explain this a little better. I don't think I can. I guess, so again, talking about the averages, right? So these cars are going to get lighter as they go on, which means they're going to travel quicker. That's why we see in... Holy smokes. That's why we see...
Oh, she's under 59.
Lapping in the 58s now. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's...
Sorry,
yeah,
got excited.
Absolutely insane how quick Lucia Tosi is driving right now, and that's because she hasn't pit yet. Her tires are doing just fine, and that car is getting lighter and lighter. The track is getting more and more rubbered in, meaning the grip is increasing for her, and the car is going quicker. So you want to maximize that as long as you can, because you're going to be lapping faster the longer you go on, whereas opposed to a GT3 car, after a while you're going to start diminishing lap times. This stint, not quite long enough to warrant that. So right now, doing an incredible job and just holding on. Still though, with 5 minutes left to go, we all know that anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. And well, look who's back into P2.
Yeah, Sunny parked back in. Now Sunny will probably have to pit. And circling back to the pit strategy, I think the other thing adding in here that Emma Dempsey is in the back again. I noticed she was in the pit for a little bit longer than everyone else. I don't know that she took tires, but it could also be your fuel calculations. If she put half her fuel in and said, I'm going to try to start lighter so she could hang on up at the front better, that would have been a strategy, and then had to add more midway. Whereas, you know, some of these other gals probably put as much in as they could from the start so they could wait as long as they could and put the least amount in, thereby shortening their pit stop to the minimum that they'd have to be in there for.
Yeah, and most of that's going to be all found during their practice sessions as well. So that's where practice makes perfect. And I know I've been seeing on a lot of the drivers' Instagrams, I've been tagging you guys on those as well. If you guys do, of course, take part in these events, guys, gals, show some pictures, show some Instagram, tag us on there. We love to see that, and we love to repost you guys. So if you guys are taking part, please We want to see it. We absolutely love to see the camaraderie and the effort that everyone puts in, whether it's on race day, whether it's 2 weeks before race day. We want to see the effort. We love it, and it takes practice. That's the thing on these cars. And of course, with the screen to speed calendar that we have here coming up, it's going to give plenty of time for the next race. Well, not really, I guess. But we have Screen to Speed Goes Drifting. That's tomorrow. But after that, the Alton Park race in the BMW M2 Cup, that's going to be in June. So you have a long ways to go to practice. June 14th is going to be our next race. That's going to be at Alton Park M2 Cups. After that, we have Okayama 90 in the Radicals. We have the Tsukuba V in the Formula Vs. And then the Holiday Invitational, as we always do every year. That'll be in December. So a lot of amazing races to take part in. Also, if this sounds interesting, if you are an American driver and are either, of course, a male or female, there's an open category as well as a women's category. Over at initesports.gg/carsim, you can find the signups to the Team USA Talent Scout event. That's going to be coming up May 2nd, Indy Cars. We're going to have an Indy race there, and there's other races to go for as well. It's not a championship. It is a bunch of one-off events to kind of prove your muster and qualify potentially for the Esport Olympics or be a part of Team USA. And if that's something that sounds interesting to you, head on over initesports.gg/carsim. It's going to be epic. It's an absolute hoot of a time. And of course, bringing out some extremely competitive driving and absolutely everybody, and plenty of time to practice as well. Now with that though, we're coming down to the conclusion here, Stephanie. What a race that we've had. 25 minutes nearly elapsed. We're going to be heading on to the final lap as we speak. And it's really been a talk of the town of Lucia Tosi. She may not have won race one technically, but all things considered, she has driven an absolutely perfect race minus the minor strategic blunder.
She has, and she did not make that strategic blunder this time. I noticed she went into the pit, came out really fast. But I do see now that Jess Wesser has gone into P2, and I don't see anyone that's going to catch her. So even though Lucia Tosi has dominated the time in this particular race, I think that overall Jess is going to end up being our winner at this point.
I think you are absolutely right, and it's going to be a tough pill to swallow for Tosi, but she knows that she did her best, she gave it her all, and it wasn't down to her driving that failed her. It was down to one silly technical mistake that at the end of the day, every single one of us as sim racers has made at some point in time. Sunny also, big round of applause to her. Of course, going to be looking like she took her pit stop on this lap, will be finishing with the proper amount of fuel, I'm assuming, in her car. So great job. She will be taking the checkered flag here. Unfortunately, though, not in second. She has dropped back down to the bottom of the order on this race for 7th position. And Nina Dom, incredible drive this time around. 4th place. What an effort in the lap times, looking quite dominant as well. Katharina Geisler having some issues on the previous lap. Don't see Dom getting close enough to catch, but it's been a good effort. But really, again, back down to Lucia Tosi, as she is in Sector 3 right now and getting ready to take home the checkered flag. It's a bittersweet victory at the end of the day, but it's a victory nonetheless. And all came down to the very end. Lucia Tosi drove a near perfect race all the way through tonight, drove a perfect race in race 2, but a strategic blunder in race 1, potentially costing her massively in the overall points. Either way, round of applause, finishes strong with a 1:59.4. Jessica Wesser behind, finishing in second, 10 seconds off the good, and Katharina Geisler taking home another podium. She is going to be very welcome to that, and with the podium finish, that might be enough to put her in 3rd overall as well. There's Geisler right now taking the line, Nina Dom behind her, Emma Dempsey going to be taking home 5th, Paige Kaufman taking home 6th, and then Sunny Park taking home, of course, the last but certainly not least position. And it was a great drive for her. I got to give Sunny some credit. She put on a heck of a fight for the first half of this race. Very entertaining drive. unfortunately had those incidents in the mid part of the race. Was it netcode? Was it contact? Was it just a spin? I don't know. But I know it was an awesome race through and through, and all of the checkered flags now being given out, we can say that we've come to a conclusion. Great effort from all the drivers.
It was fantastic. They all put on a good show. They all had great laps. Some really nice overpasses. Those were fun.
Here we have the overall results in the final race. Lucia Tosi takes the victory over Jessica Wesser. Wesser. Behind that, Katharina Geisler in third. Nina Dom taking home fourth with a great drive. Emma Dempsey Miss, an unfortunate fifth, but still probably provided some of the most entertainment out on track, I would certainly say. Paige Kaufman also in that boat, finished in sixth, and Sunny Park last, but as I said, certainly not least. We are going to be getting an interview here very, very shortly, folks, from our top 3 podium sitters. And of course, with the results to be pending, everything is provisional right now. But of course, I think we didn't have too many incidents. The stewards are going to have a very easy time on this one. From what I saw, I think we maybe have one reportable incident that might be deemed a race. I don't know. Either way, I'm not going to jinx them, and then all of a sudden they have a list of 50 different incidents to review. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. So we are going to be seeing the provisional top 3. Jessica Wesser finishing with 50 points. Lucia Tosi, 48. And Katharina Geisler, 47. What a close fight.
That was, and you know, Lucia only didn't make the top of both races because of that miscalculation or error in the pit. But, you know, and like you said before, she knows it was because of that and not because of skill. And I thought to myself, you know, I wonder which one is worse. Yeah, I know I could have done it, but I did this instead. And, you know, it's those little, you want to kick yourself errors sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm sure she was after that race, but, you know, at the end of the day, nobody's perfect, nobody's nerfect, whatever you want to say. We're human. We make mistakes, right? And it's just the unfortunate reality of life. And while it was a tough mistake to make in an important race, there's still more races to come for Screen to Speed, and her effort did not go unnoticed. Let's just say that. She did everything she could, but maybe was it a misclick? Was it maybe her decision? That's the other thing. We get to hear from her very shortly and actually find out what officially happened. Was it a mistake or was that calculated? We're just waiting here to get one of our drivers into the box here, and as they of course take their little cool down, they have to walk down pit lane, you know, get their weights taken and whatnot. It's all FIA official here, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Well, interesting that you say it like that, because years ago I used to race on Zwift, which is all bicycling, like this kind of a thing, but on a bike, and it's similar. But we did actually, if you were in the higher leagues and you were professional, you did have to actually do weigh-ins because your weight was part of the calculation for like how fast you were going and the input you were giving into that. So not unheard of in a simulator that you are going to be giving your actual weight and having that be a factor.
That actually, excuse me, that actually makes a lot of sense. And as we, of course, get closer to this becoming more of an esport, yes, sim racing is an esport, but as it grows and grows and grows, and we start seeing various teams getting accusations thrown their way and whatnot, and various drivers and stuff. I'm not going to name any names, but anyone that follows esports, you probably know one of the things that I'm talking about at the bare minimum, but that'd certainly be a way to limit things, no doubt. And as it grows and grows and grows and people want to win more and more and more, then I do see that probably becoming a thing eventually as we do it in, well, every race league, period. It's part of the ballast, at least for that. Still just waiting here for our cue to bring in okay, here we go. I think we are ready to go here. We are going to be pulling in more. Why don't we start off with Katharina, who's going to be our P3 finisher here for tonight. They're in the same room together. Of course they are. Yeah, let's pull them both up. Let's go. There we go. Katharina and Jess. How are you guys doing first off? And do we have a copy? Oh, do we have a copy, Garrett? I can see the.
I can see them.
I don't hear them, no. But they might, if they. I'm assuming they're probably heard on stream. Yeah, we'll work on that. Apologies for the minor audio. We'll get you guys here in a second, but very, very soon we will be hearing from them. We got the brief picture of anticipation to see the two and finishing both on the podium. That, well, I mentioned kind of earlier and alluded, Stephanie, to it would be a little awkward conversation at dinner, you know, when you're having it and like, oh yeah, I took you out and whatnot. But in this case, I don't think there's going to be much of an awkward dinner at all. I think they're going to be busting out the champagne and maybe more than one bottle as both of them have finished in the top three.
I agree. They look pretty happy in our little preview there that we got that with the whole thing all together. And you know, like I said, if there was any kind of argy bargy going on there, they'd probably get a good laugh out of it.
I certainly hope so. Thankfully, like I said, that was a clean. Let's just go. In fact, let's give some credit here to the driver. I don't think I even have mentioned this. That was one of the cleanest races I've seen in a very, very long time. We had 2 bouts of contact, maybe. I don't even think either one. We had 1 bout of contact that's confirmed. 2, maybe. That was it.
Yeah, I think 2. One of them was, I think, really hard to control. Was you had that contact in the hairpin of, well, I guess that's turn 2. And then that was, I don't know what she would have done about that. The other car spinning out in front of you sometimes, especially I imagine these little guys are hard to control. And then you had that contact going into that S after the long straight. I bring up my thing and I actually sound like I know what I'm talking about when he was at the Murrays. I guess was it coming into the, wait, no, Brundle.
No, you're right.
Oh,
no,
no.
Either one, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it was going into Brundle where you had Sunny and I don't remember whom she was with when they were contacting through that. So I imagine those are the 2 points that I recall having any real contact between cars.
Yeah, and like I say, one of those was even maybe netcode, maybe not. We're not completely sure. I just want to do, before we do continue these interviews, thank everybody that's joining us. Ruckus Racing, we have Enno and everybody else. We have some Camber and Caster fans out there. So a big warm welcome to everybody that is watching. We're about to get the interview on here with our P2 and P1 finisher. We have Jess Wesser and Katharina Geisler. How are you guys doing? You know, it certainly looked that way, especially, I gotta say, Katharina, you had to get your elbows not out a couple times, but you had to come close at least, and with some very entertaining battles through the field. How was it for you? How did that feel? Yeah, very, very entertaining from start to finish. And you're starting to maybe get a little bit of a habit going on here. A podium finish or race is what it seems to be. Is this going to be a trend moving forward? Also, could you guys unmute VMix real quick?
That
Maybe? Yeah, there we go. I think we should be good on that if you do.
So, is it now okay?
Nope. Now we've lost. Oh goodness, I've lost them now. Oh goodness. Stay. Yes. Stay.
Just
as we just work out minor technical difficulties, folks at home. As we, you gotta love live TV. This is, of course, the way that things often go. Is do we got a copy? No, not quite.
Oh no.
As again, just unmute in Discord, mute in VMix, or unmute in VMix. So unmuted in both. But as we do wait here to get them back, of course, we'll talk a little bit more about Jess and her effort moving forth through this field. I don't want to say race 1 was lucky. It was, obviously better skilled. At a certain level of talent, luck and skill become indistinguishable, but you did everything right. From the word go, you tried your absolute hardest to stick to Lucia Tosi. You did for the first pretty much, I was going to say half, but more like 3/4 of the race. But then almost all of a sudden the pace just kind of fell off. You were about 3 seconds behind. I'm curious kind of what led up to that and exactly how you kind of got over that. And then all of a sudden, what was it like when you got gifted P1? We still, I don't think, have audio, so do we, Garrett? Maybe. We'll be working on that shortly. There we go. I think do we have her now? No, not quite. Okay. Are going to just keep rambling on here, but Jess doing an incredible job against Lucia Tosi. And again, just like I say, putting on the pressure. The pressure couldn't quite mount up to an overtake. I thought it would a couple times. Jess looked very, very aggressive, and that was very entertaining to see. But no overtake to fruition happened in the pit lane during the stops. And I know Lucia is going to be, I'm very curious to hear from Lucia a little bit later when we do end up getting that interview underway. But how that kind of felt for her, because it's a bitter pill to swallow for one, and on the other hand, another driver benefits massively from it. So some elation, some non-elation. I don't know. It's probably not. What's the word? Anyways, but no,
disappointment.
Stephanie. Yeah, disappointment. There you go. That's a better word.
I was like, okay, well, what's the opposite of elation? Well,
yes, that would make sense. Again, that's, but here we're going to be, hopefully, hearing from them shortly here again. It's a minor again. Gotta love live TV, folks. This is just the way that it often goes on productions. I know, Stephanie, you know that quite well as well. It's, nothing ever works the first time around, does it?
no, it never does. Even if you sit down the day before and run everything and make sure it's all good to go when you sit down to stream that, especially in the beginning of a season, something, if not multiple things, are going to go wrong.
Yeah, that is the life of a producer, unfortunately. And Garrett, I can assure you right now, is trying his absolute heart out and spitting there's smoke coming out of his ears right now. I don't have him on camera, but I almost guarantee that right now. Yeah, he's working his butt off here, and I'm sure as well, Catherine and everybody, to get the quality interviews, and of course, because we want to hear from our drivers here very, very shortly, and we will, of course, hear from them shortly. It's just a matter of when. But either way, I want to just mention, I guess, one more time through, we have more races to come for the Screen to Speed Championship. So if this is something that very much interests you, we have coming up Oulton Park in M2s. Heck, I mean, tomorrow we have Screen to Speed Drifting. I think signups are closed for that at this stage because we've already hosted our open qualifying for that. But maybe, I don't know, message Sophie if you're really hell-bent on getting into it. I would say we can maybe make something happen. I don't know, though. Don't quote me on that. But we're going drifting tomorrow, and that's going to be fun. We also, as I mentioned, Oulton Park M2 Cup on June 14th. You really want to be there for that one. It's going to be a good time. I know, Stephanie from ACC, you are going to be pretty familiar with the M2s, and while the M2 is one of the newest additions to iRacing, believe it or not, it's free content that was just recently added, and my goodness, it is just as fun to drive in iRacing as it is in ACC. It's a car. I mean, it's a car. What else is there to say?
Yeah, and it's everybody. I think that most people, even in ACC, love racing in the M2 races. They're just fun, and it's more like a regular car, and you can do a lot more with it. And your door-to-door stuff, you're not going to go flying so easily, so you get to have a bit more fun with it, and hopefully that'll be exciting. Oh,
Yeah,
and especially
are,
at Oulton
course,
Park.
Yeah, and it's such a good car track combo because, you know, I mentioned it a little bit earlier when it comes to the downforce element that these cars don't have, which adds so much into racing, in my opinion. You know, well, yes, I love hypercars, I love the Formula One cars, I love GT3, all of the above. Trust me, I'm a massive fan. The biggest problem with those leagues is that the downforce makes overtaking much more hard than you would think. You would think that it'd be easier, right? You're able to stop quicker in a corner, which means that you're able to get an overtake done better. But it's actually the opposite. It's the longer braking zones, the slower cars that you're able to go dive bombing down into people. And that's why, for example, you know, I bring up Formula E a lot because I think it's awesome and people don't watch Formula E enough. There's over 200 overtakes per race because of how long the braking zones are and how they format the races to basically, in the cars, to pretty much be non-downforcey understeering monsters that are just extremely fun to drive around in, almost like a go-kart. It's amazing. And they're super fun. They're 0 to 60 in 1.8 seconds now, which is just absolutely unreal. All-wheel drive this year as well with the Gen 3 Evos. So I don't know why I'm rambling on about Formula E now. We don't have a Formula E race. Sorry. I wish we did. They're fun. They're good cars. But either way, very reminiscent to those. Long braking zones are the M2s, of course, bringing it back. You want long braking zones, good overtaking chances, not much downforce, and all the way around chaos and great times. And the M2s, they can bump into each other a little bit, and they do not care.
Yeah, and I think that makes it, like, you don't like to see people hitting each other, but you get that door-to-door action. It gives you more confidence to really go side by side for a lot more. You're not backing out of corners, so you don't end up going flying into a wall somewhere.
No, exactly. And I actually just recently got behind the wheel as well. Not in real life, but in a sim down at one of the sim centers that I commentate for down in Southern California. But it was such a good time. I haven't raced side by side with somebody in over 2 years now, over probably about 3 years, realistically speaking. I haven't gone side by side with someone. It's such a cool feeling. You know, I used to say it a lot. I don't say it as much anymore because I don't do it as much, but one thing that I just love, and I think it's the biggest thing, it's what enticed me to racing the most. I've done it since I was 3 years old. It's that ability to go side by side with somebody, you know, and have the utmost confidence in not only yourself. You have full belief in yourself, but you also have full belief in the other person, and then they have full belief in you. It's a camaraderie sort of that these racing drivers share with each other when you go side by side with each other. It's electric, it's exciting, it's scary, it's terrifying at times. Even in a simulator, it still is deathly terrifying, despite the fact that there's no risk of physical injury. It's just an adrenaline pumping sport. And like I say, that is why I love racing, is that side by side trust that everybody has. And when the trust goes wrong, hey, it goes wrong. You remember that for next time, you know, and whether you do anything about it, wouldn't recommend it, but you know, note it down.
I mean, I totally hear what you're saying. When you go in and you're side by side with people, and there are people you're really confident with, and there's some that you're just like, nope, I'm gonna wait for you to go die somewhere else. Yeah, but it's those people you're confident with, they just make the race so much better. And I think that's why when I say, like, oh, when, you know, if I race with my husband and we happen to have contact, and it's usually under that category. I know what he's capable of. He knows what I'm capable of. He's much more, he's a lot more practice and stuff and the experience. So, you know, he knows how to make up for my lack of experience. And, you know, we do have contact. It's usually a laugh, but it's nice. I know I can go into a corner with him and we're not going to crash. And it's fun. It is the best part, I think.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter what your I rating is or what your skill level is either. That's the thing, right? Is the only way to get better side-by-side racing is by doing it. As much as I hate to say it, you know, I get that question a lot, is how do I get better at racing? And the answer is, well, you have to do it, as much as I hate to say it. And yeah, racing against AI can work, no doubt, but there's nothing like racing against another human, because AIs, believe it or not, are somewhat predictable, and you can kind of make easy moves on them. A human is not predictable at all, and trust me, if you have raced for a while, you know that. You think that you know what they're going to do, and then I use the term, it's car body language is kind of the term that I like to use with it, where you're kind of telegraphing to other drivers exactly what you're going to do by how you place your car. And one of the issues I notice with a lot of newer drivers in particular is they tend to have a hard time telegraphing, and that can cause incidents, that can cause mistakes. So my recommendation to anybody that's kind of just getting into sim racing and maybe getting into racing in general and you've been getting hit a bit, my biggest thing, be predictable. That is your number one key to survival with other drivers around, is if you are telegraphing that you're going to do something, do it. Don't just switch it up last second, because nobody is expecting that. You, no offense, probably don't have the ability to do that yet. It's racing's tough, It's a very difficult sport at the end of the day, and in order to learn how to do these things, you got to crash a couple times, right? And you're going to have incidents, and you're going to have people that are very upset with you. And at the end of the day, those people need to sometimes take a chill pill, but just, take it with a grain of salt. This is it's a very fun and challenging sport. And, I don't know about you, Stephanie, but that's why I absolutely love it. It wouldn't be fun if it wasn't hard, right?
I agree. And to add to that, one of the best things I ever do is find a buddy. Usually you look for if you can, you find somebody who's much more experienced and can help you through it. But you go out on track and you just drive the track side by side. You see, okay, how fast can we go around this track, and stay side by side and not kill each other. And you will learn so much more about racing on that track in 20 minutes than you will in 3 hours of hot lapping.
And alternatively to that point, I think that is a great suggestion, Stephanie. And if you don't have somebody to hot lap with, you can even do that on your own. What you do is you go out there and you practice driving non-racing lines. You practice the overtaking lines, and you see, okay, what happens if I try to carry a little bit more speed into this corner? And then you go deep and you go off the track and you say, okay, cool, that isn't a great overtaking spot. Now I practice this a little more, and okay, well, if I look this up, well, in theory, Monza T1's a great spot to overtake, right? So how do I position my car on that alternate line optimally to get the job done so I don't turn into Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton?
Yeah, and at some point, maybe you want to throw in an AI driver in there so you can then apply those things. I know that when I've gone in I think I went in with, I don't even think they were any faster than me. We just went in for fun, and we discovered going into a race, like, oh, what you would think is the best line to take this corner pass, and ended up not being the optimal line. So you discover interesting things about the corners that way. And I'm reminded it was Bathurst we were in, and yeah, turn one, the line we thought going in would have been the optimal line was not if you were in side by side. So we ended up learning a lot of those little things, like, which was the best place to put yourself to get by this guy. And if you couldn't get that line, could you get it from the other side possibly or not? So it's very insightful to do it that way. I think more so than I think anything that I've tried in practice otherwise.
What it also does as well, and especially if you're driving in multi-category racing, you're going to learn your strengths and your weaknesses with your car. That's one of the biggest advantages as well, of course, is that, like I say, you get to experience it all. You get to see what it's like for your car on those alternate lines. And sometimes, like for example, a Ferrari, if you have to maybe take a curb, if you're in a BMW to make an overtake, maybe a BMW can make an overtake, no problem, right? Because it's a monster and can just gobble the curbs up for breakfast. But if you're in a McLaren or you're in a Ferrari and you try to take that curb, all of a sudden all of your momentum goes, well, not forward, it goes into the air. And that's not going to help you make an overtake. So a lot of it, like I say, it's learning not just the lines, but also what your car can do. Now, of course, in these spec series like we had today with the FF 1600s, you don't have that problem because everyone's an equal machinery. So that's, the line is the line, kind of, all things. So that. Also, I am just getting, well, hold on. Before that, I want to mention that we have somebody in chat here that made a comment that I wish more people online practiced that instead of just brakes are for losers, quote unquote. Better than just barrel. I don't think that's the biggest problem. I think a lot of people just need to remember that lap one, there's a concertina effect and you don't need to brake at the same spot. You need to lift and you need to coast early, and people want to make up positions, but you don't understand. I always use the best example that I use. Go watch 2024's was last year's Brazil race when Max Verstappen started at the back of the grid. That was one of the most textbook, I'm not a Max fan, let me just clarify this, but I'm about to glorify him a little bit because he had one of the most textbook starts that I've ever seen for somebody starting at the back of a grid. He had 3 opportunities to dive bomb to the inside of other cars, and instead he just sat back and didn't even go for an overtake. And then on the exit of the first corner complex, he just blew by 4 different people without even having to basically put any effort in. It was just a hurry up and wait situation, and he did it perfectly. And again, I use that as the best possible reference you can say of don't just dive bomb into turn 1. It's not worth it. Even Max Verstappen knows that. So that's what I'll leave you guys on here. Unfortunately, I'm just getting word here that we are not going to be having any interviews. The technical difficulty there, not able to be resolved, unfortunately. So we do hate to see that and hate to say that. But of course, hats off to Katharina Geisler for taking home P3 overall with 47 points. Lucia Tosi, was really looking forward to hearing from her, but unfortunately finished in second after that pit blunder on race 1. And everybody, take a bow. It's Jessica Wesser. She won the overall category with 50 points to her name, Stephanie. Overall, a very exciting session.
It was. I enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me here to commentate with you in the booth. It was fun. It was insightful. Learned a few things. Thank you.
Absolutely. The pleasure is mine. And of course, from myself, Mike Nah, Stephanie Fisher alongside, and everybody behind the scenes here on the Init Esports channel and for the Screen to Speed, we thank each and every one of you. Big shout out to our partners as well over at eClutch. Thank you so much for having us on the platform there. We absolutely love you guys. And again, looking forward to working in the future there. But on that note, folks, we are gonna wrap this one up. And what a race to wrap up that we have had. The Snetterton special has concluded. And with that, folks, I hope everybody has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Join us next time, and good night.